NBA 2K25 is at a crossroads. The community is divided, and not just into two, it's divided into a bunch of different sections. Normally when the community gets divided, it's comp players against casual players, and there's some players in between kind of floating to both sides. But this is different. You got the comp players disagreeing with the casuals, but you also got the casuals disagreeing with the casuals. You got the comp players disagreeing with the comp players. Nobody seems to have a foolproof answer on what needs to be done. Of course, we're talking about shooting. And when the game first came out, of course, the first couple days are always rough for every 2K. But eventually people start to shoot 60, 70, 80% from three, and then everybody seems to just think they're the best on the game. But this year, that's not the case. We're about a week and a half in. Players are still shooting in the 30s, 40s, some into the 50s and the 60s, but for the most part, people are around 50%, give or take, 10% either way. And this has some people up in arms. Some people are saying the shooting is too hard, make it easier. Some people are saying it's perfect, leave it alone. And people are saying a million different things. So we're gonna get into a lot of opinions and videos and tweets and a bunch of things in this, but I just want to say, before you decide which side of the fence you're going to, you have to consider this from all angles, and that's what I don't think people are doing. People are failing to realize that anytime 2K makes a major patch to a game, a major patch to gameplay, it doesn't just affect that thing they patched. It has a compound effect. It has a trickle effect. It affects a million other things, and people will say, they patched this and it broke A, B, and C. They patched A, but it broke X, Y, Z. It always happens every single year. So before we say we need to make it harder, easier, leave it to say, whatever you decide is your opinion on the matter, which everyone's entitled to their opinion, we have to look at it from all angles. So the first thing I would say, for an example, if you're going to make the green window larger on shooting, the first thing that comes to mind is shot contests on this game. A lot of those times when you're on defense and you feel like you're there, but it still says open, and they miss right now, a lot of those shots are now going to be green. So if all those shots that register open when it feels like you're there, I mean, I play with locks that have 96, 97, 98, 99 perimeter, and sometimes it feels like they're there and it's still open. All those shots are going to be going in now, or at least a much higher percentage if you make that green window higher. So something like shot contest where, you're like, man, how is that open? But it doesn't really bother you that much because he missed. A lot of those shots are going in now, and now you're going to be saying, man, they need to fix the shot contest. The shot contest, this great, I can't get a contest. He's making it every time. That's going to be a big, big change. Another thing to consider, as someone who loves the builder, making the green window bigger is going to drastically affect what builds are good and what builds are bad and what builds you can create to be effective. Let's say, for example, you made your build, you saw everybody was bricking, so you're like, man, I'm making a 94 three-pointer, man, and then when I get my cap breakers, I'm pushing it to 99, I'm going to have every badge on legend, and it's going to help me shoot more consistent. Cool. But now if the green window's bigger and somebody with a 78 three ball is ISOing at the top of the key with bronze and silver badges and they're shooting 75% from the three, how are you going to feel? Because now you just put all that money into a build because you wanted to make sure you got the most help to shooting as possible, but now this dude who didn't invest anything into shooting is shooting the same percentage as you. If you're gonna make shooting easier, it's gonna drastically affect which builds can be effective, how effective certain builds are, and some of the builds that we already made to kind of play the game in front of us now might become obsolete because we don't need all these badges, we don't need these attributes. Just something to think about. Another thing that came to mind was rhythm shooting. Rhythm shooting on this game right now where people are saying the shooting is RNG and I can't seem to green consistently and it feels very random. Rhythm shooting is very effective on this game. So now if you make a new version of this game with a much bigger green window, what happens to rhythm shooting? Are people now shooting 95% with rhythm shooting? Because I know people that are already shooting in the 60s with rhythm shooting. So now you make that green window bigger. Is it even easier to time those shots? Now does rhythm shooting almost become too overpowered? Another thing that came to mind in terms of changing the shooting and changing the green windows and all that was, we've only been playing the game for a week and a half. It feels like a lot longer, but it's only been, 10, 11 days by the time this video comes out. People have improved dramatically. People have improved drastically since the first couple days of the game. So what is it gonna look like in a month or two? People are gonna be shooting even higher percentages. Is it right to change it after a week and a half, or do we just leave it alone and actually let people figure the game out? We haven't found the best jump shot bases yet. There's a bunch of things that we haven't been able to finely tune, and if we're already shooting around 50%, there's no reason to believe that maybe we don't get into the 60s or 70s. But if we drastically make a change right now, do we end up looking back and saying that was the wrong decision and we pulled the panic button a little bit too early? Another thing to consider if we're changing shooting is, does it affect all shot timing profiles if we make that change? Because how are you gonna feel if now somebody playing on low risk has a bigger green window and they can still make whites? Now, is it like almost more beneficial to play on the lower risk settings? That's something that's gonna have to be finely tuned. I feel like a lot of people are only looking at this potential change from the high risk shot timing profile perspective. If you can put it on low risk and still green a good amount because the green window is bigger, and then you still get those the whites for the slightly others and slightly lates on both sides of the green window, I mean, you see where I'm going? I feel like there's a lot of avenues, a lot of alleyways that people are not really considering when it comes to this. The last example I have is, if we make this change, is it going to be for all game modes? Because the casual game modes like Park and Rec, it's already easier to shoot in there in general. So now, is it easier to shoot in there and you have a bigger green window? Now somebody who's a sweat or a tryhard goes in there, are they shooting 90% from the three? Is that going to be fun? Is that going to be something that the casual players in the casual game modes really want to deal with? Also, if it's only for the competitive game modes, are the competitive players going to like playing against somebody who is now shooting 80% from the three? It's something to think about. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, we should or we shouldn't. I'm just saying, before you get on either side of the fence, make sure you look at this from all angles, because I don't think people are taking into account how much trickle effect this is going to have to the 5 or 6 examples that I just touched on, and there's a bunch of other ones we could get into, but I want to start to get into some other people's opinions, tweets, videos, and let's see what people have to say. Yeah, I know I have my Twitter on light mode. Give me a break. I like it on light mode. Okay, anyways, the first thing let's take a look at is, this is from NBA 2K Labs, and it's basically showing that from what they discovered, the green window on your shots actually moves. It actually changes the exact timing. You see, this is milliseconds on the bottom. So for shots 1 and 3, the green window was from 560 milliseconds to 600. But then you look at shot number 6, the green window was like 611 milliseconds to 650 milliseconds. It's a completely different timing than it was for the first couple shots. And this is where people are talking about there's RNG. RNG meaning random number generator, meaning there's a randomness to shooting right now, and that's why it feels inconsistent, especially to a lot of the top players who feel like they're timing their shot the same, but they're not getting the consistent results that they would be expecting. And underneath all these tweets that I'm gonna be showing in this video, there are so many opinions, way too many to dive into all of them, but I do wanna just put it out there that everyone is divided on this. It's not just the comp versus the casuals. It is all over the spectrum in terms of who wants to have what happen with this game. The next one, we got Power quote tweeting that tweet from NBA 2K Labs saying, for those saying this is RNG, RNG isn't when you can't time your jump shot, laughing emoji. The timing may change with every shot, but it's not random because it's tied to the animation. You can observe the release and adjust accordingly. RNG would mean there's no way to control the outcome, but here, it's just more difficult, not random. So Power's saying, although the green window is moving, your release cue is moving in the game, so you could adjust. For example, if your release point is at your eyebrows, you need to release your jump shot, right? As soon as the ball hits your eyebrows. On some shots, it's going to take 560 milliseconds for the ball to get to that point. But then other shots, it's going to slow down a little bit, and it's going to take, let's say, 600 milliseconds to get there. So you can adjust to that slower or quicker. Getting to that shot cue is what Power's saying. You can adjust to that quicker or slower timing, meaning it's not RNG. I don't know how y'all feel about that. Comment down below what you think about all these topics. Solo said, we need to take RNG out of shooting in NBA 2K25. I need a pure green window on wide open shots with high risk, high reward, and a 94 3-point rating. 100 emoji. And then even his friend Chad said, couldn't tell if you were sarcastic or not. Solo said, how? So I'm telling you, it's all over. People do not agree on this. Even like people that play the same game modes or even play together, Solo and Chad play together, even they are disagreeing on stuff. Speaking of the DF boy, or the former DF boys, Grinding said, whoever said shooting is hard in ranked proving grounds lied to you. Please keep leaving me open. I'll take the free wins. And there's a video of him playing for 1 minute and 30 seconds where he was shooting very, very well. Lele says, shooting on NBA 2K25 is going to come down to the customer is always right. There's simply too many factors now in being a good, consistent shooter, and you're not rewarded for knowing your shot. This is a verified fact across comp, grinders, casuals, all modes alike, and it's affecting the integrity of gameplay as a whole. Something is wrong. And again, I mean, people, they're down here going to war in the comments in these things, man. People, I mean, people care about this is what I'm going to tell you. Luck says RNG, inconsistent shooting has to leave NBA 2K25. Game is fairly good, but fix this blank before we slowly see the downfall. Now, something we touched on earlier was how this would affect rhythm shooting, and Steezo has been experimenting with rhythm shooting. Rhythm shooting on NBA 2K25 is broken. 94-3 gold shooting badges. Shooting with stick 100% makes your green window bigger. Do they know how blanking difficult it is to shoot with analog stick after doing a dribble combo? Whose idea was this? Laughing emoji. Then he has a video that is showing the jump shot and how he shoots with the stick and all that. So this is what I was talking about before. Rhythm shooting is already very, very good, and people have only been practicing it for a week and a half, let's say, give or take a little bit. What happens when somebody practices it for 2, 3, 4 months? If you boost that green window, are people gonna start greening astronomically high percentage of shots? Are they gonna start greening just insane deep shots, fade shots, spin shots? Like, we have to consider this from all angles before we decide what we actually think is best for the game. Dignify said, too much guesswork this year on NBA 2K25, from shooting, how your player is gonna dribble off certain moves. The dunk meter doesn't seem like it takes a lot of skill to me. Now, Chalk chimed in, he said, my favorite part about this pure green window argument is that it doesn't make any of y'all better. If you've been losing, this doesn't make you start winning. Half of y'all don't know what any of this means, and you're using buzzwords you've seen other people say. So Chalk's saying half the people in these arguments and these debates, they don't even really understand what's going on with shooting and green windows and speed ups and slowdowns and RNG and all the things we've talked about already. He's saying they don't even know. They just want to get in there and argue. And the people that have been losing, whether they change the shooting or not, will continue to lose. And the people that have been winning, whether they change the shooting or not, will continue to win. How y'all feel about that? Badge Plug came and said, after almost a week of NBA 2K25, I still don't think shooting needs a buff for the casual modes. I think if I reset my stats right now, I'd shoot about 55 to 60% as a guard. Currently at 48.9%, but I also shoot dumb stuff when I'm up by a lot, don't we all? I made a lock last night and started rhythm shooting, and I believe a spot up / popper can shoot a good 60 to 70% with that easily. People will figure it out. Maybe I'll change my mind. Just not a fan of RNG though. Hank the Take came out and tweeted a best-selling novel. If you want to go check that out, there's people who really are passionate about how they feel, whether it needs to stay the same, whether it needs to change. And then if you scroll down to the comments, like I said, on any of these tweets, you'll see debates, passionate debates is the best way I could put it, from not just content creators like you see Double H and Hank talking right here, but also from just people that play the game that don't have a platform. They don't care about having a platform, but they just have an opinion on the matter. And it pictures, paragraphs, videos. People are very passionate about their side of this, about whether they think it should stay the same, whether there needs to be a change, whether it needs to be easier, harder. People are passionate about this topic. And I wanted to check out this video before we wrap this up from Sid67. He is a Pro-Am guard. He is a streamer on Twitch. I've known him for years, and he had this to say about people wanting to have the shooting changed. He said, don't change the shooting, Mike Wang. Stick to your creation. Let's see what he had to say in this video.
I'm being dead serious, 2K. Why the f do we need to change the shooting? What are we changing the shooting for? There's nothing wrong with the shooting. The shooting is fine. You trying to make the shooting different because such and such content creator can't shoot, or such and such that was good in the game a couple years ago or every year until now, you want to change the game now? Like Mike Wang, you done tried to put us onto this lower shooting and realistic shooting, which has been great. People are used to shooting 75% from the fucking field. Like, what the hell is that? Like, every build gonna shoot 80%, and we got super demigod 5'9" with all the shooting badges, and you want to go ahead and make the shooting easier, and people ain't even got Patty Mills yet and all that? Come on, man. Come on, Mike Wang. Come on, Mike Wang. I'm just being honest. Like, stick to your creation. Have some balls, my G. Have some balls and stick to your creation. Tell them people to stay in the rec that can't shoot. Tell them people to stay in the park that can't shoot. Or build a park for ass. Build a park for ass. Something. Like, this is starting to get ridiculous, man. People bitching and moaning. Bunch of is sitting here wanting to shoot and change because they ass and don't want to adapt to it. There's nothing wrong with it. Trust me, I'm shooting fine. You can come to my stream and look. I'm shooting fine.
So a point that I do like that Sid touched on is the fact that I kind of brought it up earlier, like we haven't even scratched the surface on what the best jump shots are. We haven't even unlocked all the jump shots yet because some are hidden behind starter 4 animations, and you know, there's a whole bunch of things. It's been 10 days, like I said. Is it time to make that drastic of a change? Y'all let me know down in the comments. Whatever side of the fence you're on, whether you want it changed, whether you think it needs to stay the same, all I ask is that before you guys decide anything and voice your opinions, think about how it affects every aspect of the game. Every build, every game mode, every shot timing profile, all the things we touched on in the beginning of this video. It was going to have a major effect on how NBA 2K25 plays out for the rest of the year. But speaking of shooting, if y'all need the best jump shots on NBA 2K25 for all heights and all 3-point ratings, click that video on the screen right there. That video will get you right.